Hey, Ben, did you know that the Rendlesham Forest UFO incident happened exactly 43 years ago on December 26, 1980? My big question is, did the U.S. Air Force see UFOs during Britain's Roswell?
Yeah, what was the U.S. Air Force doing in Britain? But we'll get into that. And what did Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt and his men see in the woods that startled them so much? He wrote a report to the UK Minister of Defense about it.
A major National Press Club conference was held years later in Washington, D.C., with Halt and other U.S. military veterans to reveal what they saw at different military bases and share their experiences. Allegedly, UFOs tampered with multiple nuclear weapons.
That's what we've been hearing. And disc-shaped objects, bright lights, dysfunctional missile silos, and craft flying over weapons bunkers are just the beginning of this whistleblower testimony.
So join Edge of Wonder as we discuss the behind the scenes military handshakes happening for decades between America, Britain, and even Russia. We'll see you out
on the edge. Nice. And hey, if you're listening to our Edge of Wonder podcast on Apple or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or elsewhere, please leave us a 5-star rating and review to help us reach even more people. Also, remember to like, follow, subscribe on YouTube, Rumble, Ganjing World, Twitter, or X, I should say, not Twitter, Facebook. For our 200,000 followers on Facebook and the one person watching.
Well said. But censorship is a conspiracy theory, Ben.
200,000. Yeah, what happened? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, Facebook. Yeah. Well, how's your Christmas, Rob?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
I was hoping that Buckingham Palace would take off like a UFO during Christmas time, but denied again this year.
Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't happen. But yeah, no, mine was pretty good too, and it's good being with family.
Good.
So, but all day, oh my gosh, all day yesterday, I kept thinking it was Sunday. So yeah. I completely forgot. I'm like, oh my gosh, we have the show today, and I was like, it didn't hit me until last
Monday.
Night. Yeah, which was Monday, and I was thinking it was Sunday. So yeah, so.
Hey, so let me ask you, over the last couple of days, what was the best thing you ate?
The best thing I ate?
Yeah.
Man, that's a really good question. Actually.
Is there something that just like stood out?
My mom made some really good turkey, I guess.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So y'all do turkey on Christmas?
Usually, yeah. Sometimes it just really depends. Sometimes it's just like, whatever. So yeah. Yeah, but this year we did have turkey. So yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I had oh man, so much. I smoked a brisket on Christmas Day. That actually turned out really good. And on Christmas Eve, I have this tradition that our family does where it's like prime rib and baked stuffed shrimp with twice baked potatoes. So wow. I definitely gained like 12 pounds over the last couple of days. Yeah.
Wow.
It was good. It was good. And I've been eating brownies like they've been going out of style.
Yeah, so. I know, man. Everyone's like, everybody has all these like sweet things and homemade cookies and all kinds of things. So.
And they're all good, but not quite as good as an episode on Britain's Roswell.
That is for sure.
Rendlesham. This happened in the near the Rendlesham Forest, right? So, in this forest is not. I mean, it's not just known for UFOs, is it? It's like this
no,
is
it's not. About
highly paranormal forest.
Yeah, and it's surrounded by different air bases. Well, at least at the time, I actually don't know for sure if the U.S. Air Force Base is still being occupied in that area, but there is multiple, and so I'm thinking that this has been like a hot spot for paranormal activity for quite a while, which is probably why they built the bases around it and probably why the U.S. was so interested in this area. That was one of the things that I found in my research and talking to Michael Strapp, who we had on our show as well, that he was saying And other people have been saying this too, that whenever any kind of major incident happens, like let's say a UFO crashes in some country, the US seems to invade the country and take the craft. And these countries kind of speak out, but then there's not much they can really do about it. So the big question is, why is the United States military so bent on getting this kind of resources? And the conclusion I kind of come to is that it's possible that they just don't want, like, in the wrong hands, like whatever that means. I'm not trying to say that it's in the right hands by any means, but I mean, like, you don't want some Mexican cartel getting this, kind of
technology.
Yeah. It's like, oh, we would rather have everything ourselves. But
the Mexican cartel, or any cartel for that matter, getting, like a DARPA death ray gun. Probably not going to have really great effects with that. Yeah.
Like, let me snort.
Say hello to my little friend.
Oh, dude,
the guy melts.
So funny.
There's like this little pool of like, sludge there left. Oh man.
We laugh, but that's probably exactly what
probably happened. Yeah.
But there's all kinds of rumors too about Iraq and Iran, about different kinds of technology that has been rumored to be found in the desert, or some kind of ancient technology, or even like stargates, and this has been some of the rumors of why we invaded certain countries. Now, I mean, honestly, I can't find any information to like 100% back up those claims, but I've even heard other military people talk about things like that. But again, even they weren't really sure, though. It was just like, it was kind of like, I heard this from, somebody on my team.
Every time I hear someone talking about it, it's always secondhand information. And then one of my buddies, who's a Navy SEAL, like, knows his stuff, I asked specifically about that Iraq stuff, and he was like, no. He's like, he was like, no, like, you don't understand. He's like, everyone talks, like all the SEALs talk, and he's like, I would have heard about it. And he's like,
that's kind of what I figured too. That's why like I said, it's been hard to find concrete information on that. I mean, a lot of people think that that kind of got leaked on purpose, because the real thing was like, all the heroin farms that they were protecting and all the other stuff that, the US was bringing back.
That's like a crazy psychological operation. Like you're like, your shield is like crazy weird UFO or like giant stuff that you're dropping. And then you're really just like interested in growing heroin and killing a bunch of people.
Yeah. I mean, the one guy that I did talk to 100%, he's like, that's what I did. He's like, why am I over here guarding a heroin poppy seed farm, for the, bin Laden's group. What was that? What was, I forget, what just slipped my mind. But anyway, the terrorist organization. And he's like, what are we doing over here, really? So anyway.
Yeah, it's weird stuff.
No, it's not
Al-Qaeda.
Al-Qaeda, that's it. Yes. Yeah, Al-Qaeda, yes. ISIS came later. Anyway, okay, why don't we get into, we're talking about all of this, but why don't we get into what exactly happened in Rendlesham at the forest? So around 3 a.m. on December 26, 1980, which is why we're bringing it up specifically today, because it is the 43rd anniversary of this. So security patrol lights descending into the Rendlesham Forest in the UK. So what the security patrol saw lights, and they were descending into this whole area. That's kind of the start of what happened. And then, of course, the area was being used by the U.S. Air Force, which is still why. And how did they have this relationship with Europe? Can you imagine, like, the MI6 just coming over here and say, yeah, we just want to set up shop around, wherever.
Yeah.
Skinwalker Ranch, for example, so servicemen thought it was an aircraft that was going down, but things very quickly changed. So Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt said that when they entered the forest, they saw a glowing metallic object with colored lights. When they got closer, it moved to the trees, and the animals on a nearby farm went into a frenzy. And that's actually one of the other things that I've read is how certain animals in the area have strange things happen to them too. We're going to get into that a little bit later. I don't know. Rob, do you want to kind of continue on from here, or would you? Okay, so Sergeant Jim
Pennison, yeah.
later claimed to have encountered a craft of unknown origin while in the forest. Now, later, there's been so many documentaries about this, and after years after this event, the guy, like especially Halt, he kind of has his own personal understanding of what happened, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. So please recall. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. So police were called to the scene after 4 a.m. Now, to kind of put this into perspective, 3 a.m. on December 26th is Christmas night. So Christmas night, basically.
Well, it's the day after Christmas.
It's the day, I know, but it's like you just had Christmas and then you passed
midnight.
Oh,
yeah, I see what you're saying. It is okay. So it's like, yeah, it's like the 25th.
You stayed up because you were partying.
Right, we had our Christmas. We're going to go to sleep now. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yes.
You stayed up because you were partying. You might have seen this in Rendlesham Forest. So police were called to the scene after 4 a.m., but they could only see lights coming from a lighthouse some miles away by then. When it was finally light out, servicemen returned to a small clearing at the edge of the forest and found 3 small impressions on the ground in a triangular pattern, plus burn marks and broken branches on trees. So there's some photos here. Could have been made by animals, but that's a bit weird. Like, that does not look, that looks either set up alien or alien in origin. Because the shape of that print is not like an animal print. I mean, you've seen animal prints before. Look at those 2 fingers in there, Ben. You see that in that photo?
Yes.
It's really weird.
It really is. And also there was symbols written on the craft that they couldn't identify. But see, Holt originally wrote a memo, and then decades later he came out and a whole documentary, and they actually went to the spot of where it happened and everything else, and he kind of gave a more detailed account, including missing time, and that was a key factor for him,
right?
And what the conclusion that he came to. The other aspect is the lighthouse is about, I was just looking this up, the distance to the lighthouse, because some people were like, well, maybe it was the lighthouse that you saw, but the lighthouse was about 8 miles away. That's pretty far away.
That is pretty far.
You could see a light, I'm sure, in the darkness, but it's like, but it's like, most people don't believe that. Because they also said the lighthouse goes out to the sea, not back to land. So that was the other thing that they noticed, was that if it really was the lighthouse, you'd think you would kind of know. And these lights were coming down, and they were not. The lighthouse would just be sitting still. Maybe it would be like kind of rotating, but I think you would know that's the lighthouse. Clearly,
yeah, you would definitely know, because the light it's on, like it's rotating, and you're seeing it every like couple of seconds. You know what I mean? Might be 10 seconds or whatever. And they also took radiation readings in the following days and found some areas with, of course, heightened levels, which is pretty mysterious. And they also detected a similar small burst over half a mile from the landing site. Now, during the investigation, a flashing light was seen across the field to the east, almost in line with a farmhouse, like the witnesses had seen the first night. This could have been the same lighthouse seen by others, but we're not sure. So later, 3 star-like lights were seen in the sky. The brightest hovered for 2 to 3 hours and seemed to beam down a stream of light from time to time. The incident occurred near 2 former military bases. Now listen to this, both of which were being used by the U.S. Air Force.
This to me really is the key, that they knew something was going on in this area, and they were coming to find out. Also, one of the things that like I've been really researching a lot is like plasma energy. And one of the witnesses for the actual for this whole incident, um he's and I'm not sure which one this is, but basically he's saying he didn't go on record because he wasn't sure if it was a spaceship. He just knew there was something weird happening. But one thing that he thought of, he said, instead of a spaceship that they saw, he actually says that he said maybe what he saw was some sort of energy or plasma, which could be a form of intelligence. So this is a whole other side to
like
this.
Orbs or something.
Yeah. And there have been multiple reports of orbs throughout even to today. In fact, you can actually take guided tours to show you where the incident is, all the weird stuff around it. And a lot of people experience things, including one of our favorite cryptids to talk about. Bigfoot. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Really? I wonder if the British version of Bigfoot drinks tea too. Just seems like something they would do.
I would imagine he would drink beer.
Maybe.
Especially if he was Irish.
He'd see you in the woods and be like, "Would you like a pint?"
Oh man, totally. Just reminded me. Sassy the Sasquatch. You have to watch it, Rob.
Okay.
It's made by these Australian guys. It came out a long time ago. It's all done on Microsoft Paint, but it is hilarious. And it just reminded, the way you said that reminded me of it so much. Sassy the Sasquatch. It's on YouTube. It's a YouTube series. I was like, man, I wish I would have done this. This is so good. So it's pretty funny. Anyway,
hey, we're actually we have a video here we're gonna show you in just a moment of basically what this guy Halt was saying about the incident. But before we get to that, we're gonna play a trailer first, and then as soon as we get back, we're going to get into this Halt memo. So hold on your hats, watch this trailer, and we'll be right back.
Welcome to Edge of Wonder. What if I told you that not only have we been visited by extraterrestrials, but that our own military has in their possession crafts along with alien bodies hidden from the public?
Military, high-level brass Pentagon witnesses, it pulls a lot of weight. Those would be the number one priority witnesses because they got closer to the truth than anyone else. They actually dealt with the physical hardware.
Well, join me on this fantastic Edge of Wonder episode with my special guest, Michael Schratt, who is a private pilot and aviation historian. He has been investigating UFO encounters for over 20 years and has meticulously reviewed over 50,000 cases. He has also been featured in numerous documentaries such as Above Top Secret, along with the Ancient Aliens TV show. In this episode, Michael will not only expose the UFO retrieval program, but will provide detailed evidence and first-hand testimonials that the military-industrial complex has been hiding alien craft, bodies, and technology from the public for nearly 100 years. All right, without further ado, let's bring on Michael Schratt.
All right, Ben, tell everyone about this Michael Schratt interview.
Oh yeah, so Michael Schratt, he's been featured in a lot of documentaries recently. He's really works alongside with Stephen Greer in a lot of cases. But when Stephen Greer came out with all the military testimonials recently, Michael Schratt was kind of one of the main people to organize this, and so he published. Well, he didn't publish the book himself, but he more compiled all the information in the book. And every single one of them are government or military testimonials. It's like, we're not going to use just regular citizens. We want to go straight to the source. And they are all officially documented cases. And this isn't something like, oh, I saw lights in the sky. This was like, no, I was at this X hangar and I saw this X craft, or I was inside of this craft. I saw these bodies personally with my own eyes. It was like these kinds of detailed accounts. So, and it starts from everything. And like a lot of people think Roswell was really like the first major crash, but actually we're finding out that the first major one where the government was kind of like, the first time the government was involved was actually in the 30s. And there was a crash that happened in the early 1900s. So these actually go back way more than we think. And there's so many crashes that has happened since Roswell. Right. So that's like a big part of it. And he goes all the way up from like the 30s, essentially, all the way up to more recently too. And then the recent stuff is just mind blowing.
It's totally mind blowing. And how they documented everything, and the painstaking efforts to like get illustrations of everything everyone saw so that you could visualize exactly what was going on was really cool. And by the way, you guys, all of those Michael Schratt interview episodes, there's 2 of them. Those are both on rise.tv. And we've got a deal right now. So if you get a subscription right now, you can be with us for the whole year, and it comes to like something like $7 a month, but it's like it's a really reduced price, and that holiday deal will only be for a few more days. So definitely subscribe now if you can, and we'd love to have you on and have you aboard for the next year. So yeah, back to the Rendlesham incident. Let's watch this video here that Lindsay is going to pull up for us. You guys got to check this out. This is kind of like testimony here.
3 patrolmen, Sergeant Peniston, Airman Burroughs, and Airman Cabanas actually.
Well, Lindsay, can you slow this down?
Lindsay, this is how Lindsay watches all of her research.
No. Can you go to 1.25 if you want to speed it up a little bit? Yeah, because I can't even. Yeah.
Airman Burroughs and Airman Cabanas actually were dispatched into the forest and approached the craft. They reported it being triangular, approximately 3 meters on a side, dark metallic in appearance with strange markings. They observed it for a period of time, and it very quickly and silently vanished at high speed. Initially, I was not aware of all the details. I was only told of strange lights, and I was sure there was a logical explanation. 2 nights later at the family Christmas party, we were interrupted. The on-duty flight commander for the Security Police Squadron, Lieutenant Bruce England, came and approached the base commander and I. He was white as a sheet. He said, "It's back." He said, "What's back?" He said, "The UFO." Well, we still were, I should say, non-believers at that point. Since my boss had to do the presentations, I was tasked, unfortunately, to investigate. So I went home and changed clothes. I really expected to find a logical explanation. I took several security policemen with me, a disaster preparedness NCO who took an APN-27, a Geiger counter, and a camera. I also had my small cassette recorder I carried everywhere when I was on duty. I was taken to the supposed site. We found indentations approximately 1.5 inches deep, approximately 6 to 8 feet on a side, and radiation of 8 to 9 times normal background radiation. Not enough to be dangerous to somebody, but significant. We also found broken branches on the trees. While we were milling around trying to make sense of the whole thing, one of the individuals with me suddenly spotted something. Off through the forest was a bright glowing object. The best way I can describe it, it looked like an eye. It was bright red with a dark center. It appeared to be winking. It would sort of wink. It was shedding something like molten metal. It was dripping off it. It silently moved through the trees, avoiding any contact. It bobbed up and down, and at one point it actually approached us. We tried to get closer. It receded out into the field, beyond the forest, and silently exploded into 5 white objects. Gone.
Yeah.
So we went out into the field looking for any evidence because something had apparently been falling off it. And we found nothing. But while we were searching around in the field, one of the people with me noticed some objects in the sky to the north. There were 3 or 4 objects in the north, brightly colored, changing from elliptical to round and moving at very high speed and sharp angular movements as though they were doing a grid search.
So this is clearly not the lighthouse.
Yeah, this is not the lighthouse.
Definitely not.
Anybody else noticed to the
Lighthouse.
south there were two objects just sort of hovering in the sky. One object approached us at very high speed. Best guess is 3,000 to 5,000 feet, somewhere in that neighborhood. Stopped directly overhead and sent down a concentrated beam in our feet. It was about 1 foot in diameter. The best way I can equate it is sort of a laser beam. We stood there in awe. Was this a warning? Was this an attempt to communicate? Was this a weapon or just a probe? Just as suddenly as it appeared, click, it disappeared. We stood there, really concerned. About that time, we noticed the other object to the south was sending down beams, about a mile and a half away.
Was that paused?
Yeah, Lindsay paused it. So, yeah, man, yeah. So the main thing with this whole entire thing
that
is
part where he's talking about this thing is winking and he
Yeah.
sees stuff falling, like molten metal falling off of it, and then it kind of recedes into nothingness. That's weird. Like, very bizarre testimony.
Yeah, and the markings on the ship, that's been one of the big things, because it's the first time that I've, like, even talking with Michael Schratt, I haven't heard too much markings found, at least on ships themselves. Maybe inside of a ship that they've seen things, but not on the outside of it. So this was really, really fascinating. Like, later, he starts to describing too how there was like some missing time. And I can't remember if it's Holt or the other guy that was with him, but in one of the documentaries I was watching, it's really fascinating because the first impression is that these are aliens or extraterrestrials or some kind of interdimensional beings. But because of one of them came to the conclusion, because of the missing time, they actually think that it's time travel, and that
or they got abducted.
Well, that's my understanding. I think that's probably more closely to what happened. Because I think there was at least an hour or two that was missing, because they were checking their watches, and it was they were out of sync. And I remember it's more in the documentary that they really get into this, all the details, and you could see I was like, there's something I was going to say, and I completely forgot what I was going to say when Lindsay paused it, but it was like, he's a little bit nervous,
Well, I mean, that could be you're delivering a bunch of information to people. You're not everybody is good in front of a crowd.
Well, no, I'm not criticizing him. I'm actually saying, like, it's probably like he seems to genuinely be telling the truth because he's nervous about it.
Well, it could be. Yeah, it could be.
No, this sounds crazy. Right? I'm just telling you what I saw.
Right. Like, it could be that he's just in stage fright, which a lot of people have, or it could be that he's really actually pretty concerned about revealing this information, because this is kind of, when you start revealing information, you get people's attention that you don't want.
Well, it's everything. You don't want to be looked at as crazy. You don't want to attract the attention of the people that do know really what's going on, and then you're afraid about saying too much. So I think it's really like kind of like all of the above in this case. So and it's like he probably just wants to, like, dude, I wasn't asking for this. This is just what happened to me, and I'm just trying to tell my story, So but yeah, so I think what's also interesting is, later he basically, I don't know, I forget if it's him or the other guy, but like, again, in the documentary, one of them comes to the conclusion that they do think that it's time travel, and that it's actually their like future humans that came back to the past. Yeah, that becomes the new conclusion of one of them, and I can't remember if it's Holt or the other guy. But that's in the documentary. And I'm like, again, this is their understanding. This is their experience. I'm not trying to say that they're wrong or right or anything, but when you look at the other incidences that happened in this forest, then it kind of makes you question a lot. I mean, everything, this is definitely not the first time something like this has happened. And also, it's not the
Lindsay,
First
can you
time.
pull up the Rendlesham Forest on a regular like map for us so we can see where this thing is in relationship to Britain? I don't think we did that yet. I kind of want to see where this
She
thing.
briefly brought it up, but it was more to show the bases
I
around the
know.
forest. And so, yeah, it's like
I want
kind
to
of
see where it is on the map, you know, of the
for
whole
us who are
island.
not British in the forest. But yeah, I guess there really is a lot of a lot of paranormal activity in this forest. There's been multiple books, multiple things about it. So here we go. Well, this is still like a really close. Like I think
Yeah.
we're
Do you
trying to
have one
see
of all of Great Britain so that you can show me where in Great Britain the Rendlesham Forest is?
the
Like the
landing
whole
site.
island.
That is really cool, though. That does show the
Yeah.
landing site there. While Lindsay's getting that, there was a book written called Sky Crash by a woman named Brenda Butler. And at least she was doing, I probably not anymore because now it's been 20 years, but she was doing guided tours in the area for, like for the Rendlesham incident and all these things. But she has so many crazy stories that she wrote about in her book.
Oh, really?
Yes. And like
Anything notable?
yes. So the main thing is the sky watch. Okay, so here. Okay, this is cool. This is kind of a better thing here.
Oh, so it's
So
really
it's like very far east.
so it's northeast of London.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. I like maps for some reason.
Can you zoom way out and show me the whole island?
It's weird to think that
Okay.
the United Kingdom is an island.
It is. They don't refer to it that way. I
No,
probably just upset
they
a
would
bunch
not
of
refer
British
to it that
people.
way. You're calling us an island. But anyway, okay, yeah. So Brenda was leading a lot of sky watches in the area for a long time, and there's people that came from all over the world to do these sky watches, and there was all kinds of stories. So one of them, she said that they saw orbs along, or like they would always see orbs flying around, but she said that there was a sad looking Bigfoot that followed them many times. So I don't understand exactly, why she used the term sad, but I guess it was just this like a lone Bigfoot that would follow them. And she said in one incident, there was people from Blackpool, which is, I guess, the area in Britain, and they completely freaked out because they happened to see the Bigfoot follow them behind him, and they just totally freaked out. And she's like, "Oh yeah, he comes around. It's kind of normal. You'll probably see Bigfoot." There was another incident where she was sitting on top of a drain cover, which led to an underground installation, and she lost 4 hours of time.
That's weird.
Yeah, no explanation for that. It was like she just was sitting down, and then all of a sudden she looked at her watch, and it was like 4 hours went by. And it's very similar to what happened with the guys from the Rendlesham.
I wonder though if it's more like, instead of an abduction, if it's more like some kind of Men in Black technology where something happens and then it's like a flash of light and it erases like however long you need up until a point where they can't remember something.
That could very well, especially like an underground installation. Like, what is this for? These are all military bases in this area. So are they doing some kind of experiments? Did she see something that she wasn't supposed to? And then it was like you said, the Men in Black thing where they just like erased her memory. I mean, I'm sure those things exist. I can't imagine that they don't. Obviously aliens have that technology, right? People get abducted and then it's like all of a sudden they're realizing they're missing time. And Travis Walton, the famous fire in the sky incident, that's always been his big thing, where he thought it was the same day and 5 days have went by.
Right. Yeah.
So right. There was a white German shepherd that she had, And
Come to think of it, though, Ben,
yeah,
the Travis Walton thing where he thought it was one day, it could have been one day. Like, we've heard so many stories about, the technology that they're using on these ships. Actually, it's like bends space and time, because that's how they get around gravity, right? They're creating their own
true.
gravitational field, which means they could be partially operating in another dimension. And if that dimension's time is different than the time here, it was 5 days here, but it was one day, and wherever he went to get healed, and then he got sent back, and it was 5 days.
The only thing with him is that he did have 5 days growth of beard.
Okay. That was 5 days.
Yeah, because that was the one thing that he did notice. Because he called his brother on a payphone, and his brother's like, they didn't believe it was him. He had to call his brother back, and they were like yelling at him, like, stop calling us. And he's like, dude, it's me. It's really Travis. And then he's like, what happened? I've only been gone for like, a night. And he's like, dude, check. And his brother said, check your beard. And he's like, oh my gosh, he's like, he realized he had a pretty thick beard. So he's like, okay, yeah, it was 5 days. So but I agree with you, Rob. I think in some of these cases that people may have not aged during that time. And then it's like, yeah, going to another time space, which is very possible. And actually,
right,
this kind of gets into this. There was a German Shepherd that they had, and the German Shepherd had been chased by strange lights on multiple occasions.
Instead of the German Shepherd chasing something, he was getting chased.
The lights were like orbs were following it around. And then they even mentioned that the dog disappeared for several minutes. And when he returned, when he just came back, they turned around, he was gone. They were looking for him, and all of a sudden he was just right there again, but he was covered in red, green, and blue fiber optic type lights. And then he went up to each person and like licked each person, and they were in this circle, I guess. And he was like putting their paws on everyone's shoulders. Like he was just really happy to be there, I guess.
That's weird.
So yeah, but anyway, okay. So you guys, we're going to show another trailer, and when we get back, we're going to talk more about the strange things that happen, including with this woman's accounts, including weird shadows, ghosts, and a famous band, their paranormal experience too. So
the Beatles,
not the Beatles.
I tried. All right, let's watch that trailer.
5.
The TV is biased and chaotic. The movies are cliche and boring. The Matrix is taking over.
Where can I find some good entertainment, for goodness sake?
Well, look no further. Get our streaming platform, Rise.tv, for 25% off. Hundreds of videos, positivity, humor, and deep dives into mysteries and metaphysical topics.
What more could I ask for?
Want to hear the truth about Bigfoot, near-death experiences, the evils of communism, ancient civilizations, and supernatural things? Rise.tv has you covered.
I used to be sad, lonely, and depressed. Not anymore. You'll love interacting with awesome people on Rise.tv. There's so much to watch. Ben and Rob are great. Those guys always make me forget the world is falling apart.
Subscribe to Rise.tv yourself, or give your loved ones the gift of true, uncensored information. For the holidays, the yearly subscription is more than 25% off. That's just $7 a month.
I want Rise.tv for Christmas.
So
Hey,
you guys,
everyone.
you can come over and join us, get 25% off rise.tv/holiday, and it's still continue on for this week. And I think then it's going to end after that. So don't miss out.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Back to our yeah. So yeah, we were talking about the Brenda Butler, her experiences. So the other thing that she said that she did remember being abducted by Greys a few times, and she remembers seeing them specifically in white jumpsuits, which is kind of a common
Kind of hip.
theme.
Must
Yeah.
be a British thing. They get out there, their little white jumpsuits and British white jumpsuits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Butler believes that there is a portal, and so this is like
In the forest, you mean?
yes, in the forest. She truly believes that there's some kind of portal that they're coming through on interdimensional energy. That's her words.
Can I tell you what I find weird about this?
Yeah.
Like in the US, if the fact that she's doing tours and stuff is really interesting, because we won't do that here, because it's looked down on. I feel like, imagine having a tour that was like attempting to reveal what happened in the Roswell crash. Like, that would not happen. You know what I mean?
Definitely not in the Roswell crash. That's
what I mean, though. But like, this is
Yeah.
this is like probably even crazier, and they're still able to have tours about it, and it's not like blocked or looked down on, really. Like, if you went to New Mexico to try to like go to Roswell or to see any of that, nothing's there. There should be like a lot of tourism around this. I don't understand that. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it depends. I mean, like, okay, Roswell, yeah, I can kind of understand that. Although this isn't like government sponsored tours, this isn't like, I mean, I think
No,
she's
I
just
know, but
kinda doing
we're
this
still
private
not
tours.
like, no one's doing
But
that. at
yeah,
Roswell.
I mean, they have things like this at Mount Shasta. They do kind of have these things. But like I don't think you can get this officially at like Skinwalker Ranch or something like that, Now in Arizona, there are some,
Skinwalker
like,
Ranch is completely gated off now.
yeah,
You
that's
can't
what
get in unless you're trespassing and you want to get arrested. No, really. Like, that's how it's handled over here. Is it's like blocked. It's bought out by someone. It's blocked off. And honestly, like, Shasta is just that place that, like, they just view. It's like Joshua Tree or whatever. It's like, oh, the hippies go there. Roswell was like an actual serious incident. And then if you were to try to do tours around that, it's not really gonna. It's just looked down on more.
Yeah, I mean, it is, it really is. But there are places, but yeah, it's not anything. It's more of like you have to find those yourself. But so like so she was actually interviewed in in this independent article in the 2000s. And that's what this whole thing is talking about. And they're talking about different people. It's like the anniversary of it at the time. And so, this is like, the drawings of the supposed crash that they saw. And she's giving her account of what exactly happened, and also her book. And like, one of the weird things that she said was that the ETs would kind of run up and like pull their hair. Her husband got hit on the head, but it wasn't like hard. It was like they just hit him with something, more as a joke or something. And then they would randomly put things in their pockets. And then she said they did see a dark shadow that ended up pushing her. And she fell backward on her partner that she was with at the time. But the weird thing is the security guards in the area have all seen a ghost called the East End Charlie, and it's a ghost of a World War II airman, and they just call him East End Charlie.
Did he die near there?
That's been the rumor, is that he died in the area, and that's why they see his ghost. So it's like you have everything here. This is like a paranormal hotspot of Bigfoot, aliens, and ghosts. I mean, this is like no wonder the U.S. military wanted to like come over here, and set up shop. So in fact, there is a story about one of the guards was trembling so bad after he saw the ghost that they had to replace him because he was unable to do his job after that. So. And then Reg Presley, he's from the Troggs. So not quite the Beatles, maybe about like 10 steps down from the Beatles. But so he had his own paranormal experiences from the area too. And he has a personal friend who is a surgeon. And his friend, who's this surgeon, told him that, and this is a direct quote, that he removed all kinds of alien hardware from people's feet and hands.
From people's teeth?
I'm sorry, feet and
Feet.
hands.
What
Yes.
kind of hardware?
He said, this is a direct quote. He said, quote, "You wouldn't believe what he took out of them," adding that the objects had the teeniest, weeniest little wires. So, imagine just like, yeah.
Sorry,
I mean,
did he quote unquote say teeniest,
teeniest,
weeniest?
weeniest. He did say that.
Wow.
Yes.
That's gotta be a British thing.
That's so British. But yes, so it looks like a lot of people who have been abducted in the area are getting inserted with these like teeny weeny
To the teeniest, weeniest little wire.
microchips. Yeah, and there's been a lot of stories about this with regular doctors, and there was a documentary about one of these doctors in the U.S. and somebody was coming to him saying, and I think it was also in their hand, and they kept saying they felt like something was in their hand and in their foot, and like no doctor would operate on it. And this was in a documentary, might have been on Netflix actually. So this one doctor finally came through and was just like, okay, I'll look into this. He really didn't think anything of it, like really even think anything was going to happen. And he noticed when he did an X-ray that there was something in a person's hand. And they took it out, and it was a tiny little cylinder. But when they did a test on the elements of what the metal elements, it didn't come up on a normal scale or on the chart at all. So they couldn't tell
it was
what
like an unidentified element.
Yes. And then the person said they felt so much better. They said they just felt like there was something controlling them almost. And as soon as he took it out, it was like they were free of it. And then all of a sudden, this person, the surgeon, started getting like a line of people coming in his office wanting to do the same thing. And he ended up pulling 10 of these things out of people. And then he kept one of them, but every time he'd send it in to get it checked out, he wouldn't get it back. So he kind of stopped talking about it. He stopped at 10. So who knows how many there are after that. But
somebody in the British government was like, "Oh, he thinks this teeniest, weeniest little thing is going to get sent back to him, does he?"
Yeah.
Yeah, not going to happen.
Not going to happen at all. So yeah, I mean, there's been so many stories and people we know personally too. And, we had, so our documentary that we made all about the secret space program.
Oh yeah.
All this stuff is in it too. So yeah, pretty insane, all of it. But so yeah, I would love to go. I don't know if you can still go to the Rendlesham area. I would imagine by now it's probably a lot of it was like blocked off and stuff, but who knows?
I mean, maybe that lady's still doing tours.
Maybe she is. Should be older, but maybe she is. Oh, I'm sure there's other tours, hopefully.
Now, along with this though, Ben, a lot of nuclear sites have been interfered with, right?
Yes. A lot of them have.
Like from in this area in Britain or
Dude,
where?
Everywhere. This one specifically talking about the U.S. military bases, but this is what a lot of people are saying, and some of the insiders are really talking about too. That I mean, it's hard to say that this is again a factual thing, but some people actually believe that it's quite possible we don't have many nuclear weapons active on our planet because they keep getting shut down. It was like whatever after, especially after Hiroshima, it was like a lot of these things, a lot of these sites, because they're so worried that we're just going to be blowing ourselves up. So it's like,
I don't know.
A lot of sites are shut down.
I don't think that's it.
Maybe that's not it. Maybe, I mean, there's two scenarios. One, it's like we're afraid we're blowing ourselves up. Two, they're afraid we're going to blow them up.
Yeah,
More of
I
like
mean, what's
a
strange
war
is like
thing.
the nuclear part of it, all it's doing is basically turning a turbine, and that's creating the power. Like
Mhm.
our power generation technology, like talk about airplanes haven't changed since the 60s. I mean, it's turbines really doing all the work anywhere, you know, which is weird. But
Mhm.
I think, you're either burning something to create like a rotating turbine, or you're burning nuclear energy, which is creating the turbine. Um, so, and there's a lot of like things in place. Like it's not like Russia where, Chernobyl had there's so many reasons things could have gone wrong in Chernobyl. There's a lot of automated things that can be put in place to kind of like calm all of those things down. So there isn't a nuclear, um, backlash. I just wonder if it's because it's such clean energy and it's very self-sustaining that the powers of be don't want us to use that. Like we're talking about
Well,
them having a gigantic industry that's been
mhm.
built on making enormous amounts of money through natural gas. And then now all of a sudden they're trying to change everything over and get us all into these little areas. So they're trying to control it
Yeah,
with
that's good. That's
electricity.
actually a really good point.
I
So
think it's too efficient is the problem. It's sort of like, why did Tesla's coil
well,
not go anywhere? It's
right.
too
Well,
efficient.
this isn't like nuclear energy. These are like nuclear missiles, right? I mean, like there would be like, for example, there's that one scenario where a red orb went over the military base. I think it was in Montana. I could be
Yeah,
wrong about
those
that.
those
And it
getting
just
interfered with makes sense.
so
Yeah.
that's what these are all about, though. So a lot of these are about like just crazy weird things over different military bases, and the rumor is that a lot of these are being shut down. Lindsay, you had an article up, and that can you bring that back up? Rob, you can read this. Actually, this is really fascinating. um oh, you just had it, Lindsay. You had it highlighted, the text highlighted. Yep.
Yeah, so witness testimony from more than 120 former or retired military personnel points to an ongoing and alarming intervention by unidentified aerial objects at nuclear weapons sites as recently as 2003. In some cases, several nuclear missiles simultaneously and inexplicably malfunctioned while a disc shaped object silently hovered nearby. 6 former U.S. Air Force officers and 1 former enlisted man will break their silence about these events at the National Press Club and urge the government to publicly confirm their reality. Yeah, I mean, they must be worried about us blowing the place that they get all their resources from up. No, really.
Maybe they are.
Like, think
Exactly.
about it. You're flying through the solar system. You're like, oh, this place has all of these resources. I need water. I need this stuff. I can fuel
Well,
up here. Let's not have them blow themselves up.
or the other option is that we are the resource.
Yeah, like Matrix stuff. Like we're being
Yeah,
used or whatever.
yeah,
Right?
like we are that. So it's like, well, if we all die, then
Yeah.
that's not
Okay.
good for
Good
them.
point. Because like our DNA, right? They want a piece of our
I mean,
DNA.
everything, and
Yeah.
that's where all of these weird experiments, these hybrid experiments, whether it's through the military or aliens, is kind of at this point probably one and the same. I'm sure there's all kinds of
Would
crazy,
it be
insane.
really funny if like the guy behind 23andMe was just an alien who was like, I just fooled him into sharing all their DNA with us?
Wait, 23andMe?
23andMe is that like you send your DNA or whatever into this.
Oh yeah. Oh, dude, man,
Like you
that
get
stuff
to find
scares me.
out what kind of blood you have and how, like, who is your ancestry and whatnot or whatever.
That stuff really scares me. Lindsay, we have like a little short video to play too, right? And this is part of the press conference.
That was actually the clip that you played earlier. It was
Oh, it
just
was?
further down in the doc.
Okay, great. Yeah, okay. Yeah, there's been a lot. Gosh, Roswell, New Mexico. There's so much going on there. So there's another one. A
By the way,
retired.
just so you know, tons and tons of of unidentified flying objects have hovered over nuclear sites as well. not
Mhm.
just nuclear weapon sites, but nuclear power plant sites as well. Yeah.
The one I was thinking of earlier with the red orb flying over and shutting down, deactivating all of the missiles and everything was the Malmstorm Air Force Base. So that's the one that was the one of the big ones. So Boeing was a primary contractor for that, and this guy named Patrick McDonough, he's the one who kind of experienced this firsthand. And there's 3 people on their team, and they went out for training. And during the exercises, that's when they kind of saw this unusual activity.
Yeah, I mean, all these Air Force guys must see tons of crazy
Dude,
crap.
yeah, no, seriously, a lot of them do. I was just talking to, I met so fascinating, actually. I met this guy recently who was in the Navy, and we started talking about like all this stuff, and it turned out he watches our show, because I was showing him he was really big on cryptids, and I was showing him one of our episodes, and he's like, dude, I've seen this. He's like, oh my gosh, I watch your channel. I was like,
awesome.
really? So he just started like telling me all this stuff, and he's just like, you have no idea how much is being covered up in our oceans. And he's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'm sure you do, but he like took it to a whole new level, you
That's
know.
great.
And one of the things that he studied was sonar, and we were talking about the megalodon shark possibility. I mean, we're kind of getting a little off track, but it kind of goes back to the UFOs here. But because I was like, yeah, there was a big article that came out, and then they said after doing a sonar, it was just a massive school of fish. And he's like, no. He's like, that's impossible. He's like, sonar would pick up each individual fish.
Of course it would.
And he's like, no, that was, he's like, there's so many weird things in our oceans. And then we started talking about UFOs coming out of like, especially out of LA. And he's like, yeah, he said he's seen things similar like that. He's like, not out of LA, but he was talking about Florida. He's like, there's so much in the Gulf of Florida, actually. And I was like, yeah, I can believe
Florida
that.
has got a lot going on, actually. The more you look into Florida, the weirder it gets. I'll say, you know.
Yeah. So anyway, it was just really, it was such a random conversation and such a cool thing that happened. But yeah, all of these things, you know, and like these cigar shaped UFOs that keep getting caught on camera and everyone keeps talking about. I mean, I do think at this point, a lot of the stuff is ours, but the stuff that's deactivating these bases and the missiles and the nuclear missile stuff, then, you know, it's like, are these potentially other? So this is the question, right? Is this other countries that also have this technology that would be like going over to the US and say, well, I don't want them bombing me, so let's deactivate all their missiles? So that's one question. Could this be like China with their weapon technology coming over here? Is it extraterrestrials coming over here and doing this? Is it our own like secret military people doing it, you know? So and why? Unfortunately, we don't really have any direct answers to these questions, but we do know for a fact that these things are being shut down, and even people within the military are asking what is going on. So I just don't think that China would have the capability of, I think whatever they would build in this sense would probably disappear in some dimension and get caught like the past. And
yeah, they're probably like their everyday scientific experiment is probably just like the, you know, the devastating Philadelphia experiment, where like people are just like merged into like the ship. It's like, up, start over, guys. Let's do it again.
That's what I keep thinking every time I hear China developing like futuristic weapon technology. It's like, I don't know. I just don't see it as being Chinese, but who knows, you know, at this point. But we do know that there are top secret things going on with these government contracts with private sectors and companies. And that's the thing that we have the most fear about. But we also know that these crafts have been flying over military bases ever since like before Roswell. And that's obviously not us, you know. And a lot of the conclusions that these military guys come to is like, that's not us. Now it's hard to say because we have this technology to do this now. So, but either way, in some aspects, it is kind of like a nice thought to think that maybe all nuclear weapons have been disabled. But then again, it's like, well, does that mean that we could get invaded by aliens and have no way to protect ourselves? But I don't think we need nuclear weapons anymore. I think we're beyond that. We have, like, you know, the Tesla death ray now. So
Right.
and crazy grids being set up. But okay. Let's see. We do have a couple things that we want to go over with some whistleblower testimonial stuff. So Lindsay, do you want to pull these up? Or these are on YouTube, right?
Well, you can read what's in there, but I'll show their photos on YouTube.
Oh, okay, cool. So Rob, do you want to go over a couple of these?
Yeah.
Let's see the whistleblower stories. There's Robert Jameson one.
Yeah, Robert Jameson was a retired U.S. Air Force nuclear missile targeting officer. They were instructed on what to do in different scenarios if they see a UFO. He's not making any noise here.
I was just showing his photo while you read it.
Ah, okay. Yeah, so
the next one we have Jerome Nelson.
Jerome Nelson. Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
So he's a retired also U.S. Air Force nuclear missile launch officer stationed in Roswell. He said a bright shining light onto the missile silo hovered for about 5 minutes. When he reported the incident, he got a vague, indifferent answer about his superiors taking it under advisement.
Yeah, which means nothing, precisely nothing.
It's like, well, pay no attention to those lights in the sky. Get back to work.
Then there's a guy named Patrick McDonough, who is a retired U.S. Air Force nuclear missile site geodetic surveyor. His experience is 1966. So he arrived at the missile site in the early evening. They needed to provide precise latitude and longitude. The blast hatch of the silo was open, which was unusual. The sites are usually inactive, but they're closed anyway. So around 1:30 a.m., a UFO stopped right over them, about 300 feet over them. It was 50 feet in diameter, had pulsating lights around it, and a white light in the center looking down into the silo. It shot off suddenly. He didn't even know if it was a UFO, that there was a UFO problem at the time. He had no radios or communication with the base. He and the team had a car accident on the way home because there were no signs or lights on the road. So they had to walk to a farmhouse 2 hours away. What a nightmare. When they talked to the local police who helped them, police said more than 20 reports of a UFO had come into their office in the area that night. He wrote incident reports to Boeing, the U.S. Air Force, and all appropriate groups about the accident, but he never heard back from the United States Air Force. He said, quote, "In my 4 years that I had with this geodetic survey squadron, I had worked on the latest missiles and aircraft in the U.S. Air Force inventory, and I worked everywhere on these guidance systems, and I never saw anything in the Air Force inventory that could perform like this UFO did. I don't know what it was, but I sure never saw anything like it."
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, man, we have a few more of these too. So next one is Bruce Fenstermaker.
Great name.
Yeah, the combat crew commander and captain in the Air Force. He said in 1976, he and his deputy were trying to stay awake, so they were listening to the security alert team. They heard someone say, "Stop the vehicle, get out of the vehicle and look around." The team that got out didn't see anything. Then they said they saw a white pulsating light in the sky about 7 or 8 miles away from the launch control facility. He and his deputy called upstairs and asked what's going on. The man there said he had to call the guys on site to ask if he could see anything because there was a white pulsating light above them. And it was like a cigar-shaped craft that they saw above them.
Totally silent.
He said it definitely wasn't a helicopter, and it was completely silent, like Rob just said, and red and blue lights. They were shocked, so they called command post, told them the story. The guy, this is what he says. The guy on the other end laughed and said, "When it eats the team, call me back."
Like, yeah,
that's so dumb. It's just like mocking.
I mean, that could be enemy craft. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who knows what that is?
Yeah. Flight security control said the object had moved to another launch facility down the road. So this thing obviously was monitoring what was going on there. It shot off into the sky, disappeared. And yeah, so other facilities in the area also reported it happening all on the same day. And and he asked what happened when they reported it, and they said, "Are you crazy? We didn't report it." Like, what? In other words, like, they didn't want to report it because it's like they don't want to be made fun of. So yeah,
that's crazy.
It is. And then yeah. So anyway, those are some really interesting firsthand experiences from the military. So this is all, like, there's just so many of these.
I was going to say there's countless ones of these. And what's crazy is we still have people denying that there's UFOs or there's things in the skies that no one can explain.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Especially when it comes to like the Pentagon.
It's just ridiculous.
I mean, realistically, it all comes down to money and technology and, what this technology is being used for. This has been probably one of the biggest questions that I get the most, no matter where I am. If I start talking to somebody, they're just like, why are they really hiding? Why don't they want us to know that like this stuff is real? Like, why are they hiding aliens?
I think it's that same. It's really simple. I think it's just a measure of control.
Mm-hmm.
It destroys every narrative they have right now. So we should get over and do Q&As over there on rise.tv, where you can ask questions like Ben just did. What's the real reason behind these things? Well, come join us over on rise.tv. We've got a lot of questions that are in the queue right now that we're going to start responding to, and share a little bit together about what the heck is really going on here. Ben, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
No, I didn't. So thanks, you guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you over on rise.tv, and come join us.
And don't forget to take advantage of this rise.tv offer we have right now that's going to expire over the next week. So definitely check that out. You've got all of our like 500 videos on rise.tv available to you. If you join Rise TV right now, it's only it's actually comes down to about $7 a month after the deal. So definitely check that out, and we'll see you over on rise.tv.
I didn't want to go public without evidence because I knew no one would believe me. The entire incident happened about 5 to 6 minutes in total. And my mom shouts really loud, "Oh my God, what is that? What is that?" At no point did the 2 men in black or the Air Force gentleman ask my mother or her friends what did they see. They looked human, but they did weird things. The men in black, they said, "You will report it as a helicopter crash, or we will take your son away." The men in black play the narrative and the media outlets spew it back out. This was 1991, Project Mockingbird in full effect.
Get your questions ready because it's time for our live Q&A session.